Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, expands our base. Doing this podcast is fascinating because I try to keep it to 10 minutes, as all of you know. And yet, if I could this morning, we would have 10 hours on the radio or on a podcast to simply talk about the various issues. I want to address some this morning, and I will do my best to highlight the issues that I think are of major concern and which we should be watching today. First, the decision by Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post to say that his op-ed page will focus on personal liberties and free markets. This is a profoundly concerning moment. It is a shift in the Washington Post as I have known it virtually my whole life. The idea that we will now see an editorial page that does not reflect diversity of opinion. And the reason? Because the internet provides so many outlets, we don't need that kind of op-ed page. Nonsense. That's exactly the reason we need an op-ed page. Now, this move has received praise from Elon Musk. That should raise all sorts of red flags. But more than that, David Shipley quit as the editorial page editor of the Washington Post in protest for what Jeff Bezos is doing. Make no mistake, this is a dramatic change in the nature of American media. And frankly, it's a terrible turn. We need to have diversity on an editorial page. We need to have left, right, center, libertarian. We need to have all of the positions stated clearly. Do you remember years ago when we always had point, counterpoint? That's not what Jeff Bezos is talking about. And that is profoundly concerning. And then there is the question of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who continue to perpetrate a lie that dead people are involved in Social Security. You know, according to Trump, there are people 200 years old on Social Security. I have never heard such rubbish in my life, and it's easily disputable and, in fact, disprovable. And yet, Donald Trump and Elon Musk continue to say it. And you know, if you say something often enough, people might believe it. And then there's a question of large-scale layoffs, which continue across the federal government. Good people who have worked for the federal government, who know their jobs, are being eliminated. And we saw today, in front of the AID headquarters in Washington at the Ronald Reagan building, we saw people given 10 minutes to clean everything out. It is a disaster for American foreign policy. It is a disaster for America's image in the world. And frankly, it's not going to save us a lot of money. By the way, sometimes it's better to spend money to avoid broader problems. You know that? I know that. Donald Trump doesn't get it. And then we learned something else. It is not Elon Musk who is making decisions at Doge. It is Amy Gleason. Nobody has ever heard of Amy Gleason. She is the administrator of Doge. That's what we're told. Well, let me tell you something. Elon Musk is the man making the decisions. It's very clear. Donald Trump features him. He featured him at a cabinet meeting, among other times and places. I want to talk to you now about something else. This may be the most important thing I say to you this morning. 2 individuals have been nominated for major jobs in the Justice Department. Arnold Reitz is the nominee for Solicitor General of the United States, and John Sewer is a nominee for a Deputy Attorney General. These 2 men are subject to confirmation by the United States Senate, and yet they have both made statements so disturbing that, well, they have both said that judges are not the final word, that the president and his judgment can override what a judge says, that the words of the court don't matter. May I be blunt? This is, frankly, a violation of the Constitution. All you have to do is go back and read Marbury versus Madison to understand that the whole point of the courts was to tame a rogue executive. And yet, we are told that these two men, one to be Deputy Attorney General and the other to be Solicitor General of the United States, are saying what the president does and says is more important than what the courts say. I am going to watch carefully during their Senate confirmation as to whether or not they will be approved. Those Republicans who will vote for the confirmation of these two individuals based on their statements must assume full responsibility for a complete change in the way our courts work, a complete change in the way our government works. I want to be crystal clear about this. Anyone who says that the president is above the courts is saying that the president is above the law. And that, my friends, is a blow to American democracy. And I would say that if it were a Democrat in the White House doing the same things that Donald Trump is doing now. This is a disaster. And I want you to think about it. I want you to reflect on it. I want you to look it up. I want you to read about it because I only have 10 minutes. Boy, I wish I had more time. This is something that should be discussed and debated vigorously. I want to move to foreign policy. I want to move to foreign policy because the Prime Minister of Great Britain is going to meet with Donald Trump today at the White House. And what they say about Ukraine in advance of the arrival tomorrow of President Zelensky to meet with Donald Trump may be critical. Our standing in the world hinges on our support for Ukraine. If we betray that trust, that confidence, if we allow Ukraine to be subject to Russian aggression, what will that say about the United States of America? What will that say to people seeking freedom around the world, people who trust our country? And then there was the video that I saw. Donald Trump's video promoting a Gaza as Trumpland with a Trump hotel and a Trump statue in gold. And have you seen this monstrosity? This is not something that we should be joking about. The fact that it appeared on Truth Social, on Donald Trump's website, the fact that it is being promoted is to me nothing less than obscene. And now what may be the biggest story of all. Iran is accelerating its production of weapons-grade uranium. Iran is in active pursuit of a nuclear weapon. Let me assure you, the Israelis will not sit idly by. And Donald Trump has made clear he will support Benjamin Netanyahu and the government of Israel in any effort they may make to eliminate the nuclear prospects for Iran. This is a matter of grave consequence, and it will affect us all. And the United States must stand strong with Israel in opposition to Iran having a nuclear weapon because, my friends, the greatest fear is that if Iran had a nuclear weapon, they might decide to use it. And do you understand? A low-grade nuclear weapon dropped on Tel Aviv would essentially destroy Israel. I'm not joking when I say this. I am not exaggerating when I say this. And so, my friends, this is a solemn day for all of us in terms of what I have said on this podcast. I had a call last night from a colleague for whom I have the greatest personal respect. His comment to me was, "John, what in the world is going on? Will the Supreme Court stand up to Donald Trump? Will Israel survive? What happens when public opinion is restricted by the Washington Post? What happens when you have two people, major people, a Solicitor General and a Deputy Attorney General who have been nominated by Donald Trump, who say the president has supremacy over the courts?" My friends, when Joe Biden defined this as a battle for American democracy, a battle for American leadership in the world. He was absolutely right. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. Let me remind you, you can interact with me on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and of course, many of you contact me directly, which is just fine. Now let me say a quick word of thanks to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this program, who makes sure that this podcast is up and running every single weekday. This is John Rothman. I will be back tomorrow